All right, welcome to a new episode of Red Hot Communications, where, we like to answer those questions. Are you fire, ice, or just a wee bit too nice? But anyways, our show is focused on becoming an extraordinary communicator all the way from the boardroom to the bedroom, because those things are important to everybody. And we'll be sharing tips, guidelines on just how to excel in your life, both personally and professionally. But I'm your co-host, Brett Deister, and I do actually a podcast, my own podcast called Digital Coffee, where I talk about tech, marketing, and gaming. So if you want to be in the know of that, go over there and figure all that stuff out. But anyways, I'd like to introduce Brenda Williams, our host of the show. So what's going on, Brenda?
Hey, Brett. Thanks for that intro, and thanks for being here with me. I appreciate your support in bringing this podcast out to the world. And welcome to all of our audience. I'm so excited that you're joining us. This show is designed for all of you, and I welcome phone calls, emails, and questions so that I can gear our conversations towards your needs, helping you with your own personal challenges as well as your business challenges so that you can excel in life. It started because for over 20 years, I've coached, consulted, and mentored thousands of people. And I found that they all had similarities in their challenges. And it always went back to communication. Not getting along with your boss, having a hard time inspiring and motivating employees, having difficult clients to deal with. I mean, it really goes across the board. And it starts at home, from the time we wake up in the morning, and how we talk to ourselves, how excited and enthusiastic we are for our day. And it moves all the way into the office. How are we engaging and interacting with others? So these podcasts are designed to help you master the art of communication in many facets, and they'll be ongoing. So each week you can tune in and learn something new that'll help you move to the next level. I will make sure there's an action item and something tangible that you can walk away with that'll make a difference in your life. So today's podcast, we're going to focus on looking in the mirror. I like to say sometimes at the good, the bad, and the ugly. And with that being said, it's important to understand your internal dialogue and how it directly affects your external communication.
Mirrors, huh? Is this kind of like mirror, mirror on the wall type of a thing where I go, who's the fairest? And then I get disappointed because it's not me.
Well, sometimes it's you, but sometimes we slip up a little bit, right?
Yeah, so, what do you mean by all this? Like, looking at the internal dialogue, does this mean, like, we're all crazy, we talk to each other all the time by ourselves and no one else is in the room? Or, like, what is this all about?
Well, it's really fascinating stuff because this isn't something we normally think about. It's not something we're taught about in school. And we just kind of learn it by observing our parents, our role models, the people we grew up around. So people don't tell you about emotional intelligence when you're 4. They don't tell you about being an active listener in school. They just assume you're going to learn that as you go through the motion. And some of us have learned some bad habits. So this is about really being consciously aware, like getting out of the automatic pilot zone and taking time to really think about what's going on in that little brain of yours. Or for some of you, you might have big brains.
I have a big brain.
And what's going on in there when you're not really paying attention? What are those thoughts that are running you, your beliefs, your values, without you even realizing why you do the things you do? And it can start from the time you wake up in the morning. So, for example, do you remember the first thought you had this morning when you got out of bed? Or when you first woke up?
Yes, it was, what do I need to do today?
Exactly. And there's a lot of very successful people in the world, and that's their first thing they think of. And some of them have very long to-do lists. So what do you think happens when you immediately start thinking about your very long to-do list and your 12-hour busy workday?
I go, well, I don't think I can do that today type of thing. I start crossing off things that I may or may not be able to get done today and start doing the things that I actually can get done today.
Well, so you redirect. But your first thought is looking at the negative. Well, I don't think I can get all this done. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a 14-hour day. I'm going to be exhausted by the end of the day. And if you don't pay attention to those thoughts, they put emotions behind it. And so when you start really thinking about your thoughts, it's a life-changing experience. Because so many times we're on automatic pilot and we're having negative thoughts, or we're having limiting beliefs, and we're having hidden obstacles that we don't even see that are holding us back in so many ways. Matter of fact, the National Science Foundation says that we have over 50,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of them get repeated throughout the day. Our mindset, or you might say our beliefs, will directly affect how we operate, how we respond to people, and the experiences that we encounter each day. So in essence, our mindset drives our outlook and how we see the rest of the world, how we see the people we work with, some of the people we live with, and how we see different events. And I'm going to go into detail so I can take this out of theory and put it into reality so that you can all say, well, how does this show up for me? So what happens when you let your mindset drive you? It can restrict your freedom, and it can slow you down. It can limit you. But when you open your mind up to really paying attention to what's happening inside my head, what is my automatic pilot telling me, and when you become aware of some of those thoughts and perspectives, and you're willing to challenge them with an open mind, I have seen so many clients just change their life by doing this. They end up building deeper relationships with people. They get promoted. They get recognized. I mean, the game just changes in their world because they're able to connect with people at a deeper level. They're coming across with more anabolic, positive energy. They're focused on solutions and opportunities. And it's a big game changer when you can get rid of the little things that are in our head that we're not seeing that can be holding us back.
Well, that sounds really, really great if you can actually get people to open their minds every once in a while. It seems like harder and harder every year I get older. See more and more closed-minded people, and I'm like, maybe you should be open to it. I think we're all set in our own ways.
Well, it's funny you say that, because as a coach, I've learned that people have to be ready to look. And many, many times people aren't ready until they have a problem. They're not doing well at work. They didn't get that promotion. Or better yet, they're in transition. They don't have a job, and they're not doing well getting one. Or they're getting a divorce and having problems at home. Then they'll usually call a coach. So today I'm reaching out to all of you to say you don't have to wait until you have a problem. If you want to excel and you want more in life, this is stuff you could be doing today. So let me just give you an example. And I've seen so many examples in my speaking engagements when I engage an audience of hundreds of people into one-on-one coaching. So I've had so many stories shared with me as to how this really shows up in the real world. But here's just one example, a professional example. I had a client that wanted to move up the ladder in the business world, and he was invited to go to a board meeting with the executives. Well, what do you think his mindset was around going to the boardroom with the executives to present a challenging, failing project?
That it's terrible and don't mess up.
So our self-confidence starts to get worked over, our beliefs about are we really adequate, the fear that comes with that of, what if I don't do a good job? I might lose my job. This is tough for a lot of people. There's others, when they have a real positive mindset and they have the confidence because they've done the upfront work and they have the experience and the knowledge that I spoke about earlier, and they go in with, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to get recognized. I'm going to be able to build relationships with these executives, and this could be a door opener in my career. I've been wanting to move up the ladder. Now I can build relationships with these types of people, and I can work with them on a solution to turn this around. Can you see the difference in how you can think? Yeah,
one's solution-based and one's thinking about the actual problem.
Exactly. We talked about energy leadership briefly last week, and that's part of my energy leadership program, helping people to really recognize when are you focused on the problem and letting the self-confidence dwindle versus being focused on the solution and all the possibilities and opportunities. So let me talk to you about a couple steps to going down this path to being more effective at communicating. The first crucial step is you've got to understand that internal dialogue. And you got to start there. The second step is to be aware of how the rest of the world is perceiving you. Brett, have you ever done a 360 assessment?
Quite a bit. Even on my own writing, I'll research and be like, that's not what I was actually supposed to be, so I'm not going to write this anymore because it's wrong.
Okay. Have you ever had one in the business world where you sent out a confidential, almost like a survey to 25 of your coworkers, your boss, your peers, your clients, and ask them what they thought about you?
No, because they usually just are upfront about me anyways, because I'm kind of bold and, sometimes controversial about my statements, so they'll just tell me anyways.
So you feel that you're pretty self-aware of what people are thinking about you.
Most of the time I try to read the body language, because body language usually gives you, because it's 70 to 90% of all our communication. So I try to read that in how they view me. Now, I can be wrong because body language sometimes is unintentional. And so you got to be careful about that one too. But I mean, you can take in a factor of things. Do I do it all the time? I probably miss some key factors, but I usually can trust my intuition sometimes about that I might not be the most well-liked here. And then I go, okay, well, I'll do my best to figure out how to be well-liked again. Well,
for all of you out there that can tap into your intuition, that's priceless. And being able to read body language and tone and volume, those are very important elements. But I can tell you this. I've worked with people that have done 360-degree assessments, and they thought they were very self-aware. They thought that they were doing a great job, and their team thought they were amazing. And when they did a 360-degree assessment and a blind survey, which is confidential, you'd be surprised what people will tell you when they know that you won't know who said it. Sometimes it even comes from family members, if you want to throw that in just for the fun of it. And so you can get a true, real, vivid assessment as to how you're communicating and relating to others and how they're perceiving you. So for those of you that haven't done a 360-degree assessment, I highly recommend you consider it, and just reach out to me if you want to learn more about that. So the third step is to really decide how you want to present yourself. Once you have this self-awareness and you're very clear on how you've been responding and reacting to people and situations, you can decide, how is that working for me? And I'd be willing to bet that there's some of you listening today that have had a few occasions where you wish you hadn't said something, or maybe said it in a different tone, or maybe you didn't speak up at all and you wish that you had.
No, that never happens ever. No, I always do 100% accuracy with all what I say all the time.
Yeah, perfect Brett. We have perfect Brett on the call today.
By the way, that's sarcasm if you guys couldn't pick that up. I'm being very sarcastic because, yes, I do mess up.
Well, I think we all mess up. I'm a coach and I live this, breathe it, study it, and I truly believe in the power of it, and I still mess up. As some of you might know, I come from the East Coast where the loud Italians and crazy Irish people were in my family, and I learned a lot of bad habits growing up. So all of us have come from different roots and different places that have caused us to learn certain things. And I've met very few people that say, I am a perfect communicator and I have nothing to learn. So stay tuned, because there's a lot to be gained from these podcasts and what we're going to be sharing with you. We're going to share an exercise with you at the end of the podcast today that you can actually start practicing right away that can make a big difference in you completing these first 3 crucial steps that I just mentioned. So I want to invite you all just to write down my contact info so you have it. So you can send in those questions and comments and get access to my information and these exercises we're speaking about. And I'll mention this again at the end of the podcast, but if you have a pen handy, go ahead and write this down. It's Brenda Williams with an S at academyflc.com. And that stands for Brenda Williams at Academy, and the FLC stands for forleadershipcommunication.com. And to make it easy, you've got my phone number. It's 714-283-1186. And I'd love to hear from you as to what you're thinking, what you're experiencing, what your challenges are, so that I can help address them in our future podcasts. So let me share a quote with you. And Brett, pay attention, because I'm going to ask you what your thoughts are on this. What comes up for you when you hear this? Watch your words, for they become actions. And watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. What's your response to that quote?
Actions speak louder than words, but your actions or your words can sometimes become who you actually are, given the habits that are formed behind them.
And many of us have so many habits that we have formed, we don't even recognize them. It's just who we are. And we think that everybody else should get on that bandwagon and be just like us, and the world would be a better place, right?
Oh, yeah, if you like being the authoritarian type. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that works really well.
So what the gist is of that is that you've got to be aware of those thoughts and habits and who you've become so that you can learn and grow and continue to reach for your best self. And so that's what made me so passionate about becoming a coach. I practice this work myself, and I am reaching for my best self. And I love sharing it with the rest of the world. So let's talk about why. Why is this important? There's actually scientific proof that our brains function in a way that we experience emotion before we make a logical decision.
Yeah, it's actually backed up by marketing too, is that you appeal to emotion first because it's easier to convince somebody to actually do it. So there is actual good research, but proof beyond what I just said, is there more proof?
There is proof. They actually have hooked up people's brains and put you in situations that you would experience, and they can see where your brain turns red, yellow, or green. And so they can see when you're feeling anger, when you're experiencing joy, when you're frustrated, and they've been able to really decipher how that functions in our brain as we think. So more and more companies are starting to recognize that emotional intelligence, which is a very important part of communication, is crucial to their organization. Because people have emotions, and they show up in the workplace. They can be positive or they can be negative. Have you ever worked with someone that was challenging to work with?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Technically, we're all challenging to work with every once in a while too. So I can say yes, I was the challenging one. Yes, I've worked with challenging people.
And sometimes it's just because we're different people, we're different personality styles, we are different communication styles, and we like to do things differently. We have different views and beliefs and perspectives. So there's always going to be differing opinions in how you want to get something done. So there'll always be somewhere in our life that we're having those challenges, and emotions will rise to the surface when our needs are not getting met, or when we feel fearful, where there's no trust involved. We will react to that, and each of us will react differently. But when we start to understand what causes us fear, or causes us to mistrust somebody, or to get frustrated or angry, we can be proactive and ahead of the game. So we can make a conscious choice how we want to respond next time that happens. So for those of you that have maybe that one difficult person to work with in the office, think about what it is about them that causes challenges. And I'm going to give you an exercise to do in a few moments so that you can start journaling around those thoughts and emotions and look at the situations that are causing you stress in your life so that you can redirect the way you approach that the next time it happens. So let me just give you an example as to how this can show up and hold us back in life. Let's say there's a layoff in your company. What's your first thought? Most people I talk to are like, oh, am I going to lose my job? Is my number up? Not very many people say, oh, maybe I'll be the lucky one and I'll get laid off so I can take a break and go on a sabbatical.
I go, ooh, LinkedIn. And then apply.
Well, good. You jump into immediate action. Many companies have cultures that will really get distracted from the fear and the disruptive nature of a layoff. Let's just give you another example. You want a promotion at the office, and you've been working your tail off for a year, and you get passed up for that promotion. What are your thoughts after that happens?
I usually go into mode of what could I do better, but that's how I deal with a lot of things is what could I do better, even though sometimes there's really nothing I could do better. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes it really is, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, and sometimes it's politics. But that's great that you go into what can I do better. That is the positive anabolic energy I talked about earlier. I've talked to many people, as I said when I'm speaking, and they'll say, here's some of the responses I get. Well, I can't trust my boss. He's out to get me. Well, maybe I should just leave this company. They're never going to see the value in me. Or what am I just doing wrong? Versus focused on the opportunity here. What can you do differently? What are the relationships you could establish so next time you're not overlooked? How can you communicate and build deeper connections? Maybe find a way to be seen and recognized. All go back to communication, don't they?
Yes, they really do. It's how we communicate with each other with communication. That was redundant.
And it changes from person to person. So I have a question I want you all to think about. And you all might want to write this down. Think about how you grew up. Who taught you how to communicate? And what kind of beliefs and values do you have that drive your decisions and how you work with people? Are you the one that has confidence in working with a top-level executive? Or how do you feel about approaching one of those challenging, difficult conversations? Many people I work with are fearful of having unpleasant, uncomfortable conversations. And let's face it, I teach this stuff, and it's not something I look forward to go have an uncomfortable, difficult conversation.
I never do. I mean, I've done it, especially with personal relationships, of sitting with the girl who I was potentially dating and being like, this isn't working, and I'll do it face to face. And I've gotten, you're brave, I would never do that. And I'd be like, but it's what you're supposed to do. Like, that's how I think of it. It's like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you encountered it. Many, many people will avoid it. Or they steamroll and they go in aggressive. I've met very few people that have mastered it, and it's such a simple skill to master. We're going to be talking about that in some of our upcoming podcasts in more detail as to how to have a difficult conversation. But right now we're talking about your mindset around it. So when you have to have one, is it, wow, I can't wait to go talk to this person because I really want to work this out so we can get back on a positive note? Or is it, well, I don't know, they might not like what I have to say, maybe I'll just stuff it, I'll keep it inside, they'll be disappointed and upset with me. And, I've seen the gamut. I've seen people avoid situations for so long it causes rifts in marriages. It causes challenges between departments inside companies. And people are not collaborating and bonding and connecting because they're fearful of those types of things. So, but the best news out of all of this is we are in complete control of our mindset. And once you become aware of these thoughts that are running you and your beliefs, you can make a conscious decision on what you might want to change or modify to be more successful. So we've talked about some of the current challenges people are having. And I'm here to tell you, when you shift your thinking, you can change your destiny. So here's something Mark Twain said. I've been through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened.
Does that mean he makes up everything in his life? Does that mean that, Huckleberry Finn wasn't true? What? I thought that was true.
Well, it actually means we can cause our own misery. How we dwell on things, how we relive things in the past, how we worry about the future can make a huge difference in our lives. So today I want to share a little snippet of a self-assessment that you can get in my book, The 7 Secrets to Successful Communication, on the Academy for Leadership Communication.com. I'm going to give you a little snippet as to some of these questions you want to ask yourself and talk to you about why they make such a difference in your happiness and success in life. And I'll start with sharing a little personal story. It says, am I open to change? And I actually had that come up in a recent assessment I took on emotional intelligence. And I thought, I'm very good at change. I can change very quickly and adapt. And then I started thinking about it. I'm in a personal situation right now where my husband, who I love dearly, is in transition. And he's looking for a new career at an executive level. And executive positions do not grow on trees. Therefore, we might have to move. Now, I love where I live in sunny California, where right now it's 75 degrees and it's like 20 degrees everywhere else in the U.S. And the sun is shining. I love my friends. I love my business. I love my clients. I love living here. So if I'm not adaptable to change, the negative mindset is going to be worried about what might happen. Oh, I got to start all over again. Oh, how am I going to make new friends? I got to start my business all over again. And you can really start to dwell on those negative thoughts. Versus a more positive mindset, a growth mindset, which we'll talk about later, where you would focus on the opportunity, the possibilities. Now, let me tell you, it's not always easy to shift that thinking. And if you're not paying attention to what's happening in your thoughts, it starts running you. And again, I teach this, and I caught myself going through this in the past year. And I had to redirect those thoughts. I had to focus on what great things could happen if I had to move somewhere cold and snowy, which I would resist in a big way.
Well, you would actually get a white Christmas.
There you go. There's the opportunity. So we all have choices about how we want to experience life and what we're dealt. And sometimes we might not like it initially, but getting a grip on how we're approaching it, how we're dealing with it, what our thoughts are, our emotions, and how we're reacting to it is a game changer. So let me ask you a few questions to think about. How do you feel about making a mistake?
I hate it. I hate making mistakes, even though I know it's going to happen, I still hate it.
What do you hate about it?
That I made a mistake, and that sometimes it was a dumb mistake that I knew I knew if I was actually paying attention, I would have made.
Right. Well, the good thing is you're not alone in the world. I'd say 99.9% of the people hate making a mistake. Because what does the word mistake mean to you?
It could be a lapse in judgment. It could be just a minor error, even with writing. I mean, look at all the reporters messing up just a little bit and getting called on.
Yeah, so, I made an error. Yeah. I look stupid. I'm like, I don't want to look stupid in front of my peers or the rest of the world by writing something that looks bad. You don't think we have some fear with doing our podcast? If we say something wrong or we stutter on our words, of course there's a little fear. You have to overcome that fear and be able to grow and move forward. So what happens with our beliefs and our values is, look at how we think about mistakes. When I went to coaching school many years ago, they had a very heated debate around the word mistake. Because the coaching instructor said, let's eliminate the word mistake from our vocabulary. And if you choose to keep it, let's give it a different definition. Let's look at mistakes as an opportunity to learn. And if we're not making a mistake, we aren't pushing ourselves to learn and grow. And on top of that, shifting our thinking around, did I really make a mistake at the time? Or did I make the best decision that I thought? Did I do my best job in that moment? I wasn't usually sitting there going, I'm going to make a stupid mistake today so I look like an idiot next week. You did the best you could do at that point in time. So when you shift your thinking around a mistake and you go, you know what? I can't learn and grow without making a mistake. I'm only human, and I'm willing to accept that. And when I make one, I'll fess up to it, and I'll learn from it, and next time I'll do better.
Yeah, I think it's really the only way you can do about it, because there's no avoiding mistakes.
But can you see the difference in your energy and your emotion around that? There's so many people I know listening right now that are fearful of making a mistake. Matter of fact, we'll go so far we'll try to hide our mistakes. We don't want anyone to know we made a mistake because they might not think we're doing a good job. The pressure that it takes off of you when you can be human and say, I'm a human being and human beings make mistakes. Let it go, not stress over it, not beat yourself up over it like some of us do for days. I mean, I know people that are still beating themselves up over a mistake they made 10 years ago.
No, I kind of just move on after that. It's just pointless.
But just think about it, right? How when you shift your thinking just around such a simple world and you challenge your old perspectives and your old beliefs, what a difference it can make. So what I'm going to do is we're going to move into a couple more, and then I'm going to give you an exercise that you can take away. And in our next podcast, we're going to go into more depth and breadth around what type of mindsets are out there and which ones could help you be more effective at work and at home. So let's just do one more. Am I able to admit when I'm wrong? And how do I feel about mistakes? We just did that one. How about, okay, here's a simple one. I enjoy challenges.
I actually do. I mean, it's kind of fun learning new things. You do make mistakes a lot with learning new things. And I think that's kind of why I like it, because it's like, I'm still learning, and so I have that kind of excuse. Yeah.
Well, and if we had more time, Brett, I would challenge you as to how and where you like being challenged. Because most people like to be challenged in areas that they're knowledgeable, where they think they can do a good job. There's certain areas of being challenged that can frustrate a lot of us.
Math.
So mine is IT technology. That's why Brett's here working with me and helping me out with the technology on the podcast. When the computers aren't working and the phones aren't working, and trust me, I've been challenged to the 10th degree. I get frustrated. My initial thought is not, oh, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to practice being emotionally in control. That is not my first thought. My first thought is, I'd like to throw this damn thing out the window.
Yeah, that's usually the rage-induced tech that happens.
But what does that get you?
Broken phone.
And a lot of misery. So when you can catch yourself, and I already know my hot buttons technology, so I've learned to get the right people on my team that can help me with it. And if I'm having a bad day when it comes to technology, I get up and take a walk. Because I know it's going to push my buttons. So for all of you out there, what pushes your buttons? And how do you respond when you're challenged and it's not going well? Just think about that. because this next exercise will allow you to journal around it, and you can learn something from it that'll help you eliminate a lot of stress and a lot of headache in your life. So let's just recap. First, I'm going to ask you, is your mindset working to your advantage or holding you back? Now, remember we talked about the first crucial step is to understand your internal dialogue. What are those thoughts that come up when these things happen? Second is, how is the world seeing me? And third, how are you responding? It wouldn't look good if the rest of the world saw me throw the computer out the window, especially being a coach, right? I'm supposed to be emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
So here's your exercise that you can do immediately to start creating this awareness. During the next week, I want you to pay attention as to how you do wake up every morning. Just do it for 7 days. And notice your first thoughts of the day. How positive are they? Write them down. And as you go through your day, any thoughts you have that are negative, draining, frustrating, stressful, cause you to be angry, disappointed, upset, write down what happened and what your thought was, how you felt, and how you reacted. Now, this is a mini exercise that I do with people when I'm coaching them. There's much more that goes along with it in a coaching program. But you'll start to notice, if you journal around this for a week, some reoccurring habits and some patterns of how you show up in life. And what's really great about this exercise is once you find those reoccurring habits and patterns that aren't serving you, that might be causing you some disappointment, maybe some stress, unhappiness, you can redirect those thoughts. You can change that energy. You can change your emotion. And it's really simple to do once you start paying attention. In my energy leadership program, I have a whole process, an actual tool that you use to be able to shift that thinking right on up the levels. I've worked with some people that are so at the lower end. We call it catabolic draining energy. And we've all experienced this, even I have. You know, you get sick. I have a friend that just got stage 4 liver cancer. And it's so sad to hear that. It breaks my heart. And if you all could have heard her on the phone yesterday, I was blown away. She wasn't crying. She said, I know there's a reason for this. I know it's going to work out. I'm going to get healthier. She has grasped onto the much more positive thinking. Now, she said, I've had my moments, but I've really been able to channel my thoughts and my energy around being in a more positive place so that I can get better. And when we start paying attention to that, it changes our whole world, how we experience life. You can get rid of those negative thoughts and focus on things that bring you joy, happiness, success. And I promise you, they will directly relate to having better relationships, to making more money in the office, to having happier marriages, to get to a point where you can inspire and motivate your kids more effectively. I know a lot of you would like to do that. So I encourage you all to continue this journey with us. It will make a huge difference in your world. So our next podcast will be focused on discovering which mindset will work to your advantage. We're going to talk about what is a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And how can you adapt and pick the different approaches that will work for you in any given situation so that you can be more successful, both personally and professionally. So I want to thank all of you for joining us. Brett, do you have anything you want to add to this podcast today?
Yeah, just pick your moments. But no, this was all very enlightening and inspiring because we all could, actually look at what our mindset is all about. I mean, I know I'm very work-oriented, so when I get up, it's just, what do I have to do today? Because when you do all the stuff yourself, you're kind of the only person that you can rely on.
Oh, I got a tag on that. I can't let that one go. some of my favorite clients are the go-getters, overachievers in life. And I've been able to take some of them and work with them, and they go from a task-oriented checklist approach, kind of stressed out mentality, because it's always about the list and how much should I accomplish and how much should I achieve. And I know that you go-getters are relating to this. Usually it's just not enough. We didn't get enough done today. There's always more we could have done, and there's always more we're going to put on the list, and it really never ends. So when you stop to think about it, it's kind of a crazy way to live your life. So what I've been able to do is help some of the overachiever go-getters to pay more attention to how they're functioning, to have a more balanced life, to prioritize, to set realistic expectations, and most importantly, take the time to slow down and connect with other human beings, to build those relationships, because it makes a difference in everything you do.
Yeah, but the the achiever side of me always wants to achieve something.
Exactly. That's why, as your coach, Brett, I have to talk you into how it's going to make your life better so you can get more of what you want. And those that I've worked with that have opened up their minds and said, well, I don't really want to do that, but I'll give it a try, have made transformational processes happen and occur that's changed their life, that's given them more happiness and more joy. It's really been incredible. So I guess we'll end on that note. Thanks for putting that in there.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm always the achiever. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. And that's, like she said, that's the end of this second episode. As always, follow the Academy for Leadership or Brenda Williams on our website at academyforleadership.com and yourcoachingsolution.com as well. Also follow her on all her social medias like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn as well, and YouTube, with upcoming videos coming up relatively soon.
Yeah, great videos coming out, which will give you little tips on these techniques we're talking about. So just to get the website correct, it's academyforleadershipcommunication.com. And the phone number again is 714-283-1186. I hope you all enjoy your journaling process this week and discover some amazing things about yourself. Also write down some of the good stuff so you feel really good about who you are and how amazing you can be.
All right, all great stuff. All right, guys, have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you next week.